Hi there, thank you for joining our virtual salsa class. My name is Tara Murray, and you'll see my daughter Lily throughout our session as we pre-recorded the videos of her doing the steps that we're going to go over today. So today's session is going to include a lesson, and today we'll be talking about being flexible. We're going to go ahead and make a recipe, do a little bit of physical activity, come back and eat our snack, and then review our passport. So today's session is on being flexible. So what does it mean to be flexible? So it's great to have a plan going into a situation, but sometimes situations change. Sometimes our environment is different than what we expected it to be. So being flexible is being able to change or to adapt to those different circumstances so we can keep moving forward. So when we're talking about being flexible with a recipe, sometimes our recipe might call for different ingredients that we just don't have access to. Maybe we don't have them at the house, maybe they're not at the store, maybe we're not able to get to the store, but that's okay. We can be flexible and either leave them out. Sometimes we can also be flexible by tailoring the recipe to our preferences. So sometimes we don't like the taste of certain things, so even if a recipe says to put it in, if we know that we don't like it, maybe we won't put it in. And then vice versa, maybe there's some things that we do like that we think we can add to it to complement it, even if the recipe doesn't say to add it. So when I'm making a salad, if a recipe says to add tomatoes, I don't like tomatoes, so I'm not gonna put them in my salad. But I do like cucumbers. So even if my recipe doesn't say to put cucumbers, and I have cucumbers and I like them, I might chop up some cucumbers and put them in my salad. Another way that we can be flexible is to substitute things out. So with our recipe today, you'll see that it calls for coconut milk. Well, we don't have coconut milk in our house, and I don't really like coconut milk. So I'm gonna be flexible and use what I have, and I'm going to use the milk that we do have in the refrigerator today. So that's one way, but there'll be a couple of ways that we'll be flexible throughout our recipe. So today we're going to be making a berry smoothie. So it's always really important before you do any meal prep, touch any food before you eat, to wash your hands. So we have a video here of Lily showing us how to wash our hands. We're going to start by turning the water on, getting our hands nice and wet, turning the water off to conserve energy, and then we're going to use our soap. We're going to make sure that we get the palms of our hands, the backs of our hands, making sure that we're interlacing our fingers, getting the base of the thumb, underneath the fingernails, our wrists. We want to do this for about 20 seconds, then it's nice and soapy. And after the 20 seconds are over, then we'll turn the water back on. And she'll do that in a second. And we'll rinse our hands, getting all of the soap off of our hands. Once our hands are nice and clean, we'll turn the water off and dry our hands. So you always want to do that before doing any food handling or food prep. So we're going to get ingredients and utensils from different parts of the house or the kitchen. So the things that we're going to need from the refrigerator is going to be our yogurt, our frozen berries, and our coconut milk. But again, we're substituting that out, so we won't be using coconut milk. We'll be using the milk that we have. So here Lily's going to the fridge, and she'll be getting the berry or the yogurt and the milk. You don't have to use frozen berries. If you have fresh berries that you want to use, that's great. We just happen to have frozen berries. So you'll bring these items to your workspace. And we're tailoring our smoothie a little bit more to our preferences. So we have our regular mixed berries, and then we also have our mango and peaches that we'll be adding later. So our dry ingredients is going to be our oatmeal and our banana. And again, we're bringing it over to our workspace. And the tools that we'll need, so we need a drinking glass that we'll put our smoothie in, a blender, and then our measuring cup. So the pictures here show two separate measuring units. We have a cup that has the different tick marks, so ours is going to look a little bit different, and that's okay. And we'll just need to be careful when we're paying extra attention when it's time to add our ingredients that we're measuring correctly. So we're being flexible with the types of equipment that we have. So our first step is to add 1 cup of milk to our blender. So we've measured out a cup of milk. You can see the line there. And we're going to just go ahead and pour it right into our blender, making sure that the lid is off. And again, we're being flexible with our milk. And then our second step is to use half of a banana and put it in the blender. So we've got to peel, the banana first. If you really like bananas, you can add the whole thing, or you can eat half of it while you're getting your smoothie ready, or save it for later. She's just going to rip it in half and then throw it right into our blender. And then our next step is to add half a cup of oatmeal. So if you have a half cup measuring cup, you would just fill it to the top. We don't, so we have to pay attention a little bit more to our units. So this is a 1 cup measuring cup, so we'll fill it halfway. And there's little tally marks, so she's shaking it to try to level it. So she needs just a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, we're talking about being flexible. So she's got her half cup. It is dry oats, so you don't have to cook them. Once you get that half cup, you throw it in there. And then we're going to add our half cup of frozen fruit. So again, it doesn't need to be frozen. If you have fresh fruit, you can use that. We just happen to have frozen. And we're going to be flexible and tailor our recipe to our likes, and we're going to add a little bit more fruit than what it calls for. So it says half a cup, but she's going to put about a half a cup of the berries, and then she's going to throw a couple of the pineapple and mango and peaches in there too. And again, if you're using a half cup measuring cup, you would just scoop it to the top. But with us, we've got to make sure that we're paying attention to the tick marks, and that's okay. Just adding a little bit extra. And then she's going to take the fruit and put it into the blender. And we're trying to clear our space as we go. So once we're done with an ingredient, we put the leftovers back into either the pantry or the refrigerator, wherever they belong. So our next step is half a cup of yogurt. So we have to use a spatula or a spoon would work too, to scoop the yogurt out and make sure that we've measured it correctly. You can use any type of yogurt. We have Greek yogurt that's vanilla flavored, but again, you can use whatever type of yogurt that you like or that you have. Let's take a look. And she'll level it out just to make sure that we're kind of close to how much we need. And that's half a cup. It looks good. And then so she'll use the spatula to scoop out the yogurt from the measuring cup into the blender. Trying to get all of it in there. then our next step is to go to the refrigerator and get 6 ice cubes. So we don't have the ice cubes in our door. We have them in a freezer with our ice tray. So if you do have the door, you would bring the drinking cup to the refrigerator, make sure it's on ice and cubes, and then you'll put enough to get at least 6. The leftover you can either dump in the sink or put back in the ice tray, I guess. So she's just pulling out the ice cubes. Again, we need 6. And so she's a little bit stuck with this last one. So she's going to bring the ice tray over to the sink. We're going to turn it upside down and turn the warm water on over the ice tray. And she's going to put her hand under the ice tray to make sure to catch the ice as it falls. So the warm water is going to loosen it. She's got it, and plop it in. So we've got our ice and we're putting it into our blender. All right, so we have all of our ingredients into our blender. So we're going to put the lid on top, making sure that it's sealed. And you want to make sure to do this before you turn it on. And then we're going to turn on the blender and blend the smoothie for 10 seconds. So the audio is on mute for here, but it is loud when you turn on your blender. So you want to make sure before you turn it on to be prepared for the loud noise. If you want to put headphones on, I've got Lily plugging her ears, and you'll count to 10, and then you'll turn it off, and then once it's off, then the loud noise has stopped, and you can take off your headphones. So I have the little signal of a thumbs up. So if she wasn't paying attention to me turning it on and off, I would count to 10, give my thumbs up, which is our sign that it's all clear. You can go ahead and unplug your ears. And then once your smoothie is blended, so let me go back to 1. So you can see with ours that it was all the way blended. We didn't need to do it a second time, but you might need to do another round of 10 seconds. So you would do the same thing, make sure that the lid is on, blend for 10 seconds, turn it off, and check to see. So once our smoothie is good and blended, we want to make sure that our blender is off and unplug the blender from the wall. Perfect. And so now we're going to take the lid off of the blender. We have a little release button that you press. Get out our drinking cup. And then we'll pour our smoothie into our drinking cup. Looks so good. Great, so we made our smoothie. So let's go ahead and put the smoothie in the refrigerator so it stays cool. And we're gonna go ahead and wash our hands. So now we're all done with our handling of our food. So we wanna make sure that we wash our hands and get them nice and clean. So again, she's doing the same thing. We're getting the soap on our hands. We're rinsing in between our fingers, doing our palms, the back of our hands, our thumb, in between our fingernails, our wrists. We're keeping the soap on there for about 20 seconds. And then when it's all nice and sudsy, then we'll go ahead and rinse it off. And then you're gonna head over to a space where you can do your physical activity. So we don't need any weights. It's just gonna be some body weight exercises. We're actually gonna go outside for hours, but if you have space inside, you're more than welcome to do that. Just be mindful of any furniture or people walking around. So for our warm up, we are gonna start with our arm circles. So doing a couple going forward and then we're gonna reverse them. So we'll do our warm up, each exercise for about 30 seconds. And the point of this is to get our body temperature up, start moving the muscles, get our body ready for a little bit more intense exercise as we go on. And then we're going to chest and back stretch. So it's opening and closing the chest, almost like giving yourself a hug, getting the upper body ready for our exercise. And again, we're doing this for about 30 seconds. And we've got our torso rotation next. So we're keeping our hips square and we're just moving our midsection and our chest from side to side. So the lower body, the lower portion of our body is staying straight and not moving, and it's just that middle section that's rotating. Got a couple more. And then we're gonna start with our lower body warm up. So we have our high knees. So we're bringing our knees up towards our chest one at a time. So she's starting pretty fast. You don't have to start that fast. And really, I would recommend to start slow. And then as you started to slow, then you can pick up the speed. You wanna stay nice and controlled, keeping your abs tight, and you can put your hands out as a marker of how high you wanna get your knees. Good. We've got our kickbacks. So again, each of these exercises are about 30 seconds, give or take. With this one, we want our chest up, and we're just kicking our feet back, alternating the legs. Again, nice and controlled. Our hips should stay squared. Good. And then our last warm-up exercise are our leg swings. So bringing your right leg in towards the inside of your body and then swinging it out. And doing about 15 seconds on one side, and then you'll go ahead and switch. And you can hold on to something for balance. Just lightly press on it. Don't try to hold all of your weight, but just something to keep you upright. You don't have to have your hands behind your back. They can be by your side or on your hips, just somewhere that you're comfortable. Perfect. All right. So now we're going to start on our full body workout. So we have these 5 exercises that we're going to do in order, and we're going to do this order 3 times. So we're in our first round, which is our jumping jacks. This is going to be our cardio exercise, getting our heart rate up. So she's jumping out and then back in with her arms going above her head. And so this can be a little bit of a higher impact because of that jump. If you want to have it be a lower impact, you can do one leg at a time, stepping out. So she's doing that now, that modification. Nice, powerful movement even without the jump. And then our next exercise for our upper body is our chest press. So we had a difficult time with this exercise, so we modified it and we're doing a push-up against the wall. So her feet are together and they're about 1.5 feet away from the wall. The farther your feet are from the wall, the more difficult it is going to be, more of an incline. You can also do it on the ground on your knees, making it a little bit easier. Or if you can do it on your toes. But it's that same bend in the elbow, keeping the chest, keeping the neck neutral. And then we've got our squat, so our hands are behind our head. The weight should be in our heels, and it's almost as if we're sitting down in a chair. Our chest should stay up. Again, nice neutral neck. And you can do shallower squats, so not bend down as much if it hurts your knees. Good, and each of these exercises are about 30 seconds as well. And then we've got our reverse lunges, so we take a step back, and then our knees go to about 90 degrees. That back leg does not touch the ground, should be just an inch or two away. And we're alternating which leg goes back. So you start with your feet together, you take a step back, and then you lower down, making sure that your hips stay forward and square, chest stays up. And our last exercise for round one is our planks. So we're gonna make sure, so right now her shoulders are not in line or on top of her elbows, so we had her shift her weight forward, so they should be in line. Hips should be parallel to the ground. If your feet are together, it's gonna be a little more difficult. You could spread your feet apart to add a little more stability. And feeling that belly button pull into the spine. If you have a difficult time, with the planks on the ground like that, you can do the high knees again, really engaging the core. So what we did for our warm up. So that was round one, that was great. So now we're gonna do those 5 exercises 2 more times. So again, we're gonna go back to our jumping jacks. So we've got our higher impact, and then again, you can step out one leg at a time for our lower impact. Still making sure that we're being powerful and controlled with our movements, and that we're still breathing, very important. Good, and then we do our push-ups. So again, you can do them on the ground or you can do them against a wall. Making sure that our chin is off of our chest, it's a nice neutral spine. We're bending at the elbows. The rest of our body stays nice and straight. Again, the closer your feet are to the wall, the easier it's gonna be. And you can do the push-ups on your knees or on your toes on the ground as well. And we've got our squats. So making sure, trying to keep the knees, trying to make sure that the knees don't go past the toes, but at least they're in line with the toes, that's good. You can even practice just sitting on a chair without using anything else. So keeping your hands behind your head and then sitting on a chair and standing back up and doing that for 30 seconds. The weight's in the heels. Good, and then we've got our reverse lunges, our second lower body exercise. So taking a step back and then lunging down. Again, making sure those knees don't go past the toes. The knees should be about 90-degree angles. Keeping the chest up. Making sure we're breathing. And our last exercise for round 2 is our planks. So again, our shoulders should be in line with our elbows. Hips should be parallel to the ground. Contracting our stomach, our abs, pulling that belly button in towards the spine, making sure that our chin is off of our chest. The placement of the feet can make it either easier or harder. So if your feet are wider apart, it's going to be easier, or together is going to be harder. And that was it for round 2. That's so great. So we're almost done. We have one more round of those same 5 exercises. So this is our last 30 seconds of jumping jacks here. Looks good. Doing our higher impact. And then again, you can modify it doing our lower impact by stepping out to the side. Keeping our core tight for all of our exercises. Our last 30 seconds of our chest press, or I'm sorry, our push-ups. So you can do chest press as well, but that does require you to have some weight. Where with the push-ups, you really can do anywhere. It doesn't require a lot of space. And you don't need any equipment. It's all body weight. Keeping the neck neutral. Good. All right, our last round of squats for 30 seconds. The weight's in the heels. We're still breathing. Our chest is up. Almost done. Nice shallower squats if we've got some knee issues. Our reverse lunges. So again, we're alternating which leg steps back. We step back and then we lower down. Our knees don't touch the ground. If you need to hold on to something for balance, you can go ahead and do that as well. Just try not to put a lot of weight on it. It's really just there for balance support, not to use your upper body to help you lift back up. And our last exercise of our workout before we cool down are our planks. We've got 30 seconds. The core is nice and tight. The belly button's pulling up towards the spine. Again, we can adjust the feet to make it easier or harder. Keeping the chin off of the chest. Wonderful. All right, so now we're going to cool down. So we're going to do our static stretches. So in the beginning, when we did our warm up and we're stretching, we were doing dynamic stretches. So we were moving while we were stretching and getting the body ready. So now with our cool down, we're going to hold these positions. So here, you're going to put your hands behind your back, bring your shoulders up and around, opening up the chest, lift your arms up just a little bit, an inch or two if you can, and we'll hold for about 10 seconds, making sure that we're focusing on our breath, breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. And then we've got our upper back stretch. So we're going to interlace our fingers and rotate them out. We're going to feel those shoulder blades pull apart as we round the back. You can drop the chin to the chest at this point. Again, for about 10 seconds. And now we're going to do our quad stretch. So we're going to grab the ankle from behind, making sure that the knees stay in line. Knees are pointed down. Nice proud chest. And you'll hold one leg for 10 seconds, and then you'll do the other leg. So you'll switch and hold that one for about 10 seconds as well. Focusing on our breathing. And now we have our hamstring stretch. So you can start with taking your right leg and bringing it in front, making sure the right leg is straight. The right toe is pointing up towards the ceiling, and then you'll sit into your left leg. So the leg that's behind is what you'll sit into. And you'll hold here for about 10 seconds. And then you're going to switch. So you're going to bring your left leg in front. The left leg is straight. Left toe is pointed up towards the ceiling or the sky if you're outside. And you'll sit into the right leg. The further you sit, the more of a stretch you'll feel in the back of your leg. So this is for your hamstrings. And again, about 10 seconds on each side. And then we have our calf stretch. So you'll bring your right leg forward. You're going to bend that right leg and kind of lunge into the right leg. And that back leg, that left leg is going to be straight. That's going to work the lower back of your leg, your calf. And you'll feel a little bit of a pull there. And then you'll switch sides. That back leg is straight. You're going to lunge into that front leg. Hold it for about 10 seconds. Good. And now we're going to take 2 deep breaths. So we're going to breathe in. We're going to reach our hands up, breathing in through our nose, and exhale through our mouth, like we're blowing out a candle. So breathing in, smelling a flower, and then exhaling, blowing out a candle. So doing at least 2 of those. And that is it for our physical activity part. You did a great job. Let's go back inside or back to the kitchen. Let's get our smoothie out. We're going to wash our hands first. Again, before handling any food, before eating any snacks or meals, you really want to make sure that your hands are clean. So turning on the water, getting your hands wet, turning off the water, getting the soap. Remember, we're going to do this for about 20 seconds. Making sure to get the wrist and in between the fingernails, in between the fingers, the front and the back of your hands, nice and soapy. Doing this for about 20 seconds. And then once you're done, rinsing all the soap off, turning off the water and drying your hands. All right, so let's go ahead and get our smoothie out of the refrigerator and we can go ahead and try it. And here is our passport. So today we made a berry smoothie and you can check which level of independence you were at. So the options are you either followed the directions independently, did it all by yourself, You followed the directions with some help, you followed the directions with a lot of help, or you weren't able to complete the recipe. So with Lily, she followed the directions with some help. I was there with her and I talked her through it. And if she had any problems, we worked together to figure it out and move forward, being flexible with our recipe and the ingredients and the tools that we had to work with. And then once you've tasted it, you can look at this chart here to see how you liked it. So our red base is I didn't want to taste it. The orange is I didn't like it. The yellow was it's okay. The light green was it was good. And then the dark green was it was delicious. So when Lily and I tried it, we both gave it that light green. It was good. We had never had smoothies with oatmeal before, so it was cool to be flexible with that and add it. And I think going forward, when we make different kinds of smoothies, we'll be adding oatmeal. We liked it with our Greek yogurt and with our regular milk. So the way that we adapted it and changed it and were flexible with the recipe made it more to our preferences, and therefore we liked it more. But sometimes you'll try something and you won't like it, but you'll know maybe where it went wrong and maybe things that you would do differently next time to make it something that you like. So that is the end of our salsa class. Thank you so much for joining and have a wonderful day.